Ready, Ms. Beck?
Let's go.
We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. Welcome to the February 22nd, 2021 meeting for the Shawnee County Board of County Commissioners. My name is Kevin Cook. I serve as the chair, also representing District 2. Joining me today is Commissioner Bill Rippon, representing District 1. Good morning.
Good morning.
And Commissioner Aaron Mays, representing District 3. Good morning.
Morning.
Madam Clerk, our first item.
First item is item 3, consent agenda.
There are 3 items on the consent agenda. Are there any questions or is there a motion?
I'll move for approval. Second.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Rippon, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item 4, new business. A, County Clerk number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Commissioners, this morning we have a voucher report totaling $3,012,002.23. Highlights of that are under the debt services. We have 2 items, one to the Kansas State Treasurer totaling $515,531.25. This is for general obligation bond interest payments. We also have 911 Telephone and Event Center, PBC, for Security Bank of Kansas City, totaling $956,251.79. That is for COP interest and agent fee payments. And then also under sewer districts, we've got a payment to the city of Topeka totaling $50,705.67. That's for operation and maintenance of the Sherwood and sewer districts number 1, number 2, 6, and 65. I don't have any questions about this, and I'd move for approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Mays, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item B, Department of Corrections number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C81-2021, a memorandum of agreement with Jefferson County for the temporary housing of prisoners during an emergency situation.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Cole, Shawnee County Department of Corrections. Both this and the second item I have are both relatively the same. That I apologize, I didn't get them all together. I was just getting them in, and I wanted to get them all together but I couldn't. But basically that this and the next item both are letters of or memorandums of agreement that we have gone through the County Counselor's Office for approval that allows us to set up agreements when it comes to emergency situations. This is part of our COOP plan, the continuity of operations plan that we work with emergency management, and part of our accreditation that we have these letters of agreement in place in case we do have an emergency. We have used these in the past, and we work with these other agencies when they run into emergencies. These have been very helpful when it comes to certain situations, and such as when they've had a flooding and electricity and stuff that have gone out in other facilities, and we use these. Again, these are part of our continuity of operation plan, and all of them have gone through the county commissioners, or excuse me, the county counselor's office for approval. I'll stand for any questions you may have.
Any questions for Brian? And Brian, as you did say, we have agreements with other counties that if they have problems that they can send their inmates to us, a continuity of operations.
Absolutely.
So there's reciprocating agreements.
Yes.
Any other questions? No. I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item B2, consider authorization and execution of the following memorandum of agreements for the temporary housing of prisoners during an emergency situation. A, contract C82-2021 with Wyandotte County. B, contract C83-21 with Douglas County. C, contract C84-21 with Jackson County. D, contract C85-2021 with Osage County. And E, contract C86-2021 with Reno County.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Cole. Again, these are the same things as Jeff County, with the exception of Reno County is for juveniles. And I stand for any questions you may have.
Any questions for Brian?
My only question is, why is this a separate agenda item than from Jefferson County?
Excuse me?
Why is this separate from Jefferson County?
Nothing. The only reason it was different, I wanted to put them all together. I got Jefferson County in after I'd submitted this request.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Yes, that's the only reason.
It was just timing, okay. I'll move for approval.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Mays,
Second.
second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item C, Public Works, number 1, consider approval of change order number 1 to contract C 555-2020 with WCI Inc., resulting in a contract price increase of $7,245 for the furnishing and installation of vinyl fence with posts on Northwest Wilson Road Bridge over tributary to Half-Day Creek project, utilizing 2017 to 2032 countywide half-cent sales tax.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kurt Niehaus, Director of Public Works. During the course of right-of-way negotiations, oftentimes our projects need additional right-of-way, and we negotiate with the adjacent landowners for such. In the case here, we had agreed as part of right-of-way acquisition negotiations to remove and replace an existing fence on the property. Unfortunately, when the plan preparation came along and bid letting occurred, the part about reconstruction of the fence was left off. So this change order just corrects that. Questions?
Questions?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Rippon, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item D, Court Administration, number 1, consider approval of request to pay CDW government utilizing state contract pricing for items totaling $12,944.30, 10 laptop computers, USB headset labels, and 10 copies of Dragon Legal dictation software to be funded through the 2021 Court Administration budget.
Good morning, Commissioners. Lee Welch, Court Administrator, 3rd Judicial District. These are routine purchases for the court that just happen to cumulatively total over $10,000. I believe the laptops were actually part of our COVID purchases that were made before the end of the year. Items were not in stock, so when they replaced them, they canceled the original order and issue a new order with a new date, which is why they showed up in 21 instead of as reimbursable items through COVID.
Any questions?
Nope, I'll move to approve.
I'll second. Motion for approval by Commissioner Mays, second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item E, Parks and Recreation, number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C87-2021, amendment number 1 to contract C480-2020 with Imaging Office Systems, Inc., allowing for scanning and destruction of files for West Lawn Cemetery at a cost of $767.28, utilizing the West Lawn Cemetery Fund.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Laurent, Director, Parks and Recreation Department. This is an amendment to a contract that you had previously agreed to. We underestimated, and so did the company that we were working with, the amount of files that needed to be scanned and disposed of at the West Lawn Cemetery. And so we're asking for you to approve this amendment so we can get this project wrapped up. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions for Tim?
No.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Reflect that it passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item E2, consider authorization and execution of contract C88-2021, amendment number 1 to contract C303-2020 with Fitlaw, Inc., allowing Parks and Recreation to donate unspent funds on the undelivered fitness classes at the end of each program term.
Good morning, Commissioners. Randy Luby, Parks and Recreation. For you today is amendment to the program grant portion of this contract. Basically, instead of waiting the 3-year term to return unspent unused funds, we would do that at the end of the program period, which is basically every year. To refresh your memory a little bit about this program, We got a grant from ARP for the building of the actual fitness equipment at Willow Park, and then also a grant for the programming aspect of it through FitLot. And we are, there's a requirement of so many classes and how many participants in each class, and we receive money for that. It's a program free to charge of the public can use. We started it in October. Again, it's slow going with the pandemic right now, but it was very popular for the short time we were able to do it in the fall, and we look forward to rolling in the spring with it. Any questions you may have, I'll try to answer.
Any questions?
I'll move to approve.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Mays.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Reflected, it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item E3, consider approval of request for an estimated project budget of $50,000 to paint the pool basin at the Midwest Health Aquatic Center, to be funded through the Building Maintenance 3R Fund, and to solicit bids accordingly.
Good morning, Commissioners. Randy Luby again with Shawnee County Parks and Recreation. We're asking your approval today for a project budget to paint the basin of the Midwest Aquatic Center. If you recall, it was built in 2016. It's had 5 years of wear and tear, basically, as you can see, according to the pictures here, a few of the photos. Generally, we try to get our pools painted every 4 to 5 years. If we can get 5, we're really pleased with that. If you don't paint this fairly soon, the importance of keeping some type of paint on there and not exposing the contract to the pool chemicals and acid, you'll really start jeopardizing the concrete of the pool. So with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions?
Is this for the entire facility?
Yes, for all.
Because I know there are like several smaller pools at that
Yes,
one.
it is, Commissioner.
Okay, and then are there any other facilities that are going to need to be painted?
We're not looking at painting anymore this year. We do have a schedule next year. We're looking at the smaller pools, the Garfield, Hillcrest pools, and then the following year after that, I believe is Blaisdell. We try to alternate the bigger pools because of the cost,
Right.
and do them not at the same time. So.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
No questions. I move for approval.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Rippon.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Reflected, it passes 3-0.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Our next item.
Item F, Commission, number 1, consider approval of appointment of Geraldine Smith, LMSW, to the Shawnee, or to the Juvenile Corrections Advisory Board.
Commissioners, this has come to us as a recommendation for appointment. Any questions? And qualified? I'll move for approval of the appointment.
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Mays. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Reflected, it passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item 5, Administrative Communications.
This is an opportunity for any department head or member of the public to address the commission on any item.
Not all at once.
They're all
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Laurent, Shawnee County Parks and Recreation Department. So last Thursday, Governor Kelly and Transportation Secretary Lorenz awarded $13.5 million worth of transportation alternative grants to projects across the state of Kansas. I'm pleased to announce that Shawnee County received one of those grants, totaling $696,000. This trail grant will be used to pick up where the Deer Creek Extension Project will leave off. 2 years ago, we did a presentation for the State of the Community Address that talked exactly about what this grant would do for the community and for our trail system. And I'd like to show that to you now, if I can. Parks and Recreation now has over 60 miles of trails in their trail system. If you take a look at the map inside of our trail guide, you'll see that we're just a few miles of trails and a street project away from connecting the trails in southwest Shawnee County to the trails at and around Lake Shawnee. We're in the process of extending the Deer Creek Trail from 10th Street to 25th Street. Once that's complete, the trail will then wind through the Robinson Family Nature Area, then cross I-470 down to a newly widened 29th Street. And from that point, it's an easy connection to the trails here at Lake Shawnee. I can't stress the importance of something like that. Having that one trail that runs through the length of the community, that brings that community together. So, as I mentioned, that was 2 years ago, and there's a lot of things that have been done since then. The street project is complete, and once we're able to complete this project, you would be able to hop on your bike at Wheatfield Village in West Topeka, bike all the way across town, visit 7 different parks, end up at Adventure Cove or Reynolds Lodge or the Betta Sports Complex or any one of the amenities we have out at Lake Shawnee. So we think this is an incredible achievement for the county, for our department. We think this is just one more example of Shawnee County Parks and Recreation inspiring our residents to lead healthy and active lifestyles through diverse set of parks, trails, programs, and facilities. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Tim, the grant amount, I mean, is this a matching grant from Shawnee County? Are there other stipulations with the grant?
Yeah, it's an 80-20, so we would be responsible for 20% of the cost, which we have accounted for in our budget and our building maintenance fund. So we think we're in a good position to move forward, obviously, with commission approval when we bring it back to the board for that approval.
And what's your next step upon, I mean, having received this grant, where do you go from here?
Well, I think that my John Boyd and my park planning committee will start working on the paperwork. I've got some copies of the things that they'll need to fill out and return. But ultimately, I think the first step will be coming back to this board to get permission to move forward. But I'm excited, to do that. 2 years ago, I think those words still, I'm going to start recording all of my presentations, by the way. That's a lot easier. But yeah, I'm really excited about the project. So we'd like to get moving as soon as we can.
I agree with you. It is exciting. And from the public's perspective, when would they start seeing things start popping up? Would they occur this year, next year?
Well, I'll tell you that's a great question because we're still trying to get our Deer Creek Extension project completed. So that is scheduled to go out to bid next month. I think the 17th, if I'm not mistaken. So we hope to see that project start moving. I think once the bids go out and and KDOT secures somebody to do the project, and I think you'll start seeing some progress there. And then this project, from what I'm being told initially, you're looking at probably 2022 before you start to see anything really happening. So we've got a year at least, but we'll try to do everything we can to push it forward.
So probably by the end of 2022, we would have that completion of the extension from Wheatfield Village all the way to Lake Shawnee?
That would be the goal.
Okay.
That would be the goal.
All right. Questions for Tim?
Well, this is a nice, easy segment too, this last link.
Yeah.
We're not looking at bridge, well, if there is a bridge, it'd be a small one.
Right.
Just a footnote, this funding will not cover engineering or any kind of right-of-ways that have to be.
It won't. There'll be some additional charges there, and then there's a fee for pre-design fees that we'll have to come up with as well. But again, I think we've anticipated all of that, so I think we're in a good position to move forward.
Good. Very good.
Questions?
No, this is great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Cole, Shawnee County Department of Corrections. I just wanted to announce that on the 25th and 26th of this week, we will have the audit and surveyors from the National Commission on Correctional Health Care will be conducting their audit, two-day audit of our entire operation of medical and behavioral health at the jail. We're up for our 5th reaccreditation for national NCCHC accreditation. So it'll take 2 days. It will be a virtual audit, which we've never done before. This is because they're still working through the pandemic and they're very behind. This was supposed to take place back in November. So I will come back with a full report on that once we're done with that, but I just want to let you know that we will have audits and surveyors throughout the facility this week.
Great.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Craig Barnes, Health Department. Just wanted to provide an update today on our community health needs assessment process that's going on in our community right now. As you remember, back in, I believe, the end of January, we had our Board of Health where we presented on the what we were starting for the needs assessment process. So again, I just wanted to update the Commission as well as our public. We are ongoing right now in our community health needs assessment process. This is a partnership with the Health Department, Stormont Vale, and Heartland Healthy Neighborhoods, which is our community health coalition here in our community. This is a process that is undertaken every 3 years. We use this as an opportunity to reevaluate the health of our community, to make sure that when we look at the data that we collect, both primary, secondary, and tertiary, that we are looking at creating actionable interventions and objectives through our then community health improvement plan, which we create that also follows a 3-year cycle. We had our last community health improvement plan that we published in the winter of 2019 that runs through from 2020 to 2022 and looks at those priority areas that pop up from the needs assessment. So with that, our perception survey is ongoing right now through the month of February. It'll probably go a little bit into March as well. Through the end of last week, we've already gotten just over 1,500 community survey responses, which is a good start. We're trying to eclipse that 2,300 that we got 3 years ago. So with a couple weeks left in this survey process, I think we're going to get that. In addition, this year, one of the exciting things that we did is, in partnership again with our Heartland Healthy Neighborhoods and Stormont Vale, has hosted 12 different virtual roundtable or town hall discussions. These specifically are targeting groups that were underrepresented in our last iteration of the needs assessment. The goal of these town halls is to make sure that we get a comprehensive understanding from all parties and all individuals, all demographics in our community, to make sure that we are addressing all of the gaps, all of the barriers that we have and potentially here in Shawnee County. Ultimately, again, to, like I said earlier, to create actionable and tangible interventions to improve the whole health and well-being of our community. One of the things that I did want to mention, I brought in about 50 paper surveys here. We partner with a lot of community partners to also get paper surveys. We've been collecting those over time. I would encourage any of the department heads here or anybody from the public to take those. They can be turned right back into the health department. Any department heads can just in our office them right back to me, and we'll get those tabulated. The last piece, so once our primary data is collected here as part of our needs assessment, that's when we'll get right into diving into our secondary and tertiary data, looking at other data sources like the BRFIS, which is the Behavior Risk Factor Surveillance System, the ACS survey, the American Community Survey, of course, census tract stuff, to make sure that we've compiled then a comprehensive final report. Then we use that data that's all collected through the primary, secondary, and tertiary data collection and do a large town hall. I think several of you have been a partner with us in those town halls before. This is where we bring together key stakeholders from all sectors across the entire community to come through, sift through all of the data, and that's where we help kind of do some of the initial prioritization. And that's where we use that during those town hall meetings to kind of then help us do the prioritization for that upcoming CHIP process that will start next year in 2022. And then roll out and will be an addendum or an update to our current community health improvement plan. So it's just kind of a revolving door to make sure that we're always still addressing the issues that are popping up so that we're not kind of sitting back and continue as we had done many, many years back is really just focusing on the health professionals and their perception of what the health is. We've really done these last two iterations of getting into the community and getting a better understanding of what the perception is of the individuals themselves. So that's the short kind of nitty-gritty on the needs assessment, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have today.
Any questions for Craig regarding this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Could you tell us how the vaccination, how that rolling in? Is that going very well?
The vaccination, so for
Yeah.
COVID-19 vaccinations?
Yes.
So I'm sorry I don't have much of that data here in front of me today since I was doing an update on the needs assessment, but vaccinations are rolling out. We're still receiving Pfizer just shifted their vaccination doses, so now it's 6 doses to a vial instead of 5. And so I can't do the quick math in my head, but that is roughly around, I think, 2,300 doses that we're receiving in our community weekly. We're still partnering, as we have been, with St. Francis and Stormont Vale to get those doses out as quickly as possible. We are following along. We are excited to hear that the governor kind of is doing a similar process, announcing her plan to vaccinate K through 12 that we had started 2 or almost 3 weeks ago now. To get vaccines into K through 12 before the first dose before spring break. So continuing to roll, we're working through our interest survey. We have, in the context that we've made, about 60% of the individuals that we've contacted through the interest survey have already received a vaccine. So that's exciting numbers to see for us through that survey. But we're just calling through from the people the very first people who filled out the survey and working through that. So. It is rolling along. Excited, and hopefully we'll see our allocations here in our community increase here soon so we can continue vaccinating more people. Excited to see that the Federal Pharmacy Partnership is beginning its implementation here in our community. I think last week we got up to about 1,400 additional doses that were coming through local pharmacies in our community, and the state has earmarked those to specifically start on those that are in the 65 and older population and people who are missed in phase 1.
You might tell who's qualified to get shots at this point. Is it people over 65? Is that the number we're?
Yeah, so phase 2 in the state of Kansas, which we follow that prioritization. We've done a little bit of a sub-prioritization here in Shawnee County, but 65 and older, so that is correct. And then the high contact essential workers. So we're working right now, as we mentioned, through the K through 12, and excited to be rolling out into some other priority groups here in the very, very near future.
And last, on your community transmission scorecard, I had asked about a week or so ago about putting some recovery rates on there by age or even hospitalization rates by age. When could I expect to see something like that?
Our surveillance branch and team is working on evaluating the scorecard as we speak.
Okay. But when do you think it might?
I do not have I can't give you an exact time frame at this moment in time.
You might reach out to Dr. Locke, Commissioner Rippon, if you have concerns and you want to have that discussed, with our health officer. I know that she's been very open to those sorts of conversations.
And we have been meeting weekly on the scorecard since our last update.
I just think it's important for people making policy decisions to know recovery rates and hospitalization
and as
rates.
we've mentioned throughout the entire the recovery rate specifically is a difficult number to pin down just because of there's still, as a novel new coronavirus, it's hard to say someone has completely recovered if they're going to have long-lasting chronic health issues due to the coronavirus infection. So that's why we took the recovery number, people recovered, off of our dashboard and did the people who have been removed from isolation. And as we see continue with the new variants and reinfections coming up, that recovery rate, as you mentioned, is a little difficult to pin down, but we're working with ways to try to make sure that we can articulate that appropriately for our community.
Well, I see KDHE has recovery rates. Stormont Vale puts out recovery rates. The CDC has put out recovery rates. I think we ought to be able to come up with a recovery rate. Many diseases have lingering effects. People who had chicken pox are talking about how that relates to shingles later on in life. But I think I recovered from chicken pox. So anyway, I think we ought to be able to come up with recoveries.
Yeah. Any other questions with the needs assessment or COVID-19?
Nope.
All right.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Any other administrative communications this morning? Commissioner Mays?
Nothing for me.
Commissioner Rippon?
Nothing.
I do not have anything either. Our next item.
Item 6, executive session.
There is not a need for an executive session today, so we are adjourned.